Oh yeah, yeah. Yep. And yep, we're using a small table, so we should have no issues with this. Are you hearing me? Can you guys say something real quick so we can hear you?
They can hear us.
All right, wonderful. Okay. How do you say your last name again?
Achatola.
Thurman, right?
Yep.
I gotta spell it phonetically so I don't mess it up. Thurman. Buenas tardes, ladies and gentlemen. Sí, soy yo, tu conservative Nuyorican, aquí coming to you from the best station around. Sí, la voz de libertad, the voice of liberty. And yep, for this week, I'm coming to you from sunny Miami, guys. It was a little chilly this week. It was like 77 degrees. Crazy, crazy. Hey, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas Sowell once said, life does not ask what we want. It presents us with options. What we do with those options determines the kind of life that we live, the kind of person that we become, and of course, the kind of future that we create for ourselves. So, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a couple individuals that I met here at this hotel. Right? They're from Detroit, Michigan, and well, you know what? I was coming down the elevator, and they walk in, and one of them had a mega head on. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. And the thing is, these two guys, they didn't fit that whole mantra that us Trump supporters get kind of stereotyped as, I guess, right? We're talking about a couple guys, probably a little darker than me. One of them, it's dreads, right? Yep. One of them has dreads. Actually, I thought the other guy with the head on was Latino, but he's Italiano. Check that out. You know what part of Italy your family's from?
Palermo, yeah.
Palermo, very nice. There's a lot of people. I mean, Rochester's got this little Italy area, and a lot of the people I heard are from Palermo.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, of course, as we're going down the elevator, and I'm trying not to be intrusive, but I had to ask. I'm like, who are you guys? Why are you wearing this hat? But to boot, right? These aren't some oldie folkies guys, right? That own $1 billion house down the street or anything like that. These are guys that are 24 and 18 years old. Check this out. When Trump was president the last time, right? One of them was 16, and I think the other guy was
12.
You were like 12, yeah, something like that. So, and here they are, Trump supporters. And I figured, you know what, guys, I want to talk to you, and I want our listeners to hear from you. So, mira, allow me to introduce to you, see, el señor Dante Ayetola and the young man Isaiah Thurman. Did I say those correctly?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful, beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, 346-3000. We want to hear from you. Ask your questions, right? And listen, if you're a young person, I really want you to listen to this show today. If you're a mom and dad and you've got young kids, have them listen to the show today. Why? Because today we're going to talk about what it means to be a young individual in the United States of America, with all the political nonsense going on, with all the brainwashing really is what they're trying to do with our youth. And the fact that you guys have gone beyond that, because guys, these two young guys, right? They lived through young people with Trump, so probably not paying too much attention, but grew up into their young adult lives under the Biden and Kamala administration. And I think these two gentlemen would agree that those two are the buffoon and the junior buffoon. Now, check this out. They're from Detroit, Michigan. And if I didn't say that already, pay attention to that, because Detroit, Michigan, very similar to what we're seeing in Monroe County, right? And remember, Trump won Michigan and only lost in New York State by 11 points. So, guys, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for coming on the show today. Hey, do you guys know it's National Pickle Day today?
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, man, listen, 67% of households consume pickles and purchasing them every 53 days. That's nuts. It's a good business to get into, I guess, right? The U.S. dedicates between 100,000 and 125,000 acres across more than 30 states in growing pickles. And then, of course, we can probably get into more, but I didn't know all that. So on the show, I like to throw in a little bit of these things because, again, as a society, we don't spend a lot of time talking about things that are important. And man, there are some really wild observances in the States. And then, it gets me because a lot of our politicians tend to, they tend to create division, I think. So I highlight those out too, but I thought National Pickle Day was a good day.
It's fun.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, so guys, for our listeners, see, Dante, we'll start with you. How about you share with our listeners like who you are, but not a biography and a website, right? I want to know what made you, because if I understood you correctly, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. Yeah. And the cool thing about it, you're not just an entrepreneur out there peddling something easy like selling a tire. You're in the insurance industry at 24 years old. Yeah. And if I understood you again correct, you actually sold your first company already.
Yes, when I was 21.
So to tell us all about you, what made Dante Agetola?
Yeah, I mean, I would, first and foremost say the thing that made me are definitely my parents, right? So I think when you grow up in a household where, there's standards to be met, you have a different outlook on life, right? Because I wasn't just, here, just go out and do your own thing and just given, free mobility to do whatever I want as a young kid, right? So they kept me in check, which is a good thing, right? I think every kid needs that. And I think that's part of the problem with, society today. One of the biggest things, as I was growing up, I was playing sports, right? So owning my first company at the age of 19, I had to grow up real quick. So, what actually I think made me work hard towards that was my old partner for the insurance, because we owned that other company together, we were both young. Yeah, I think he was 22 and I was 19. So with Goosehead, that was the name of the company. We almost didn't get accepted in. So we were in college. We went to Texas to do our training, onboarding. And then about a couple weeks after, we basically were told, hey, we just don't have enough information to, see if you guys are ready for this big jump in your career. Because again, I come from, just getting out of playing, football in high school. And then he was just doing, delivery driving for jets, for the time being, because we were just young and we didn't know what we wanted to do. So then after a couple more weeks after that, we decided to give it a second shot, and then we got accepted. And my mother was partly a majority of getting us to that spot. Only
Supportive
because
mom and dad,
yeah, because she owns an insurance agency for over 30 years, so she knows the in and outs, right, of insurance and how it works. She's a hard worker herself, and she helped us get to that spot because that was a little jump that we needed, being 19 and 22.
Oh, absolutely.
So after, I think that moment too is where I was like, okay, I definitely need to work hard to to get in the spots like this, because it's not easy for everybody. Not everyone could just go there and own an agency. And at that time, when we were 19 and 22, we were the youngest agency owners by like years. It was, I think the second youngest was 24 and 25.
I have
So
never met an
yeah.
insurance guy. I mean, I've met like kids trying to peddle insurance,
Yes, yeah,
but
yeah.
never an owner of an insurance company at your age, at 19 for that matter.
Right. It's definitely hard, but that's what part of American dream is about. Is you can do anything you want, right? But it is also networking and knowing, certain people, because that's what's going to help you in life. Is not just thinking, oh, I can and can't do this. You might know somebody that, hey, put in a good word. Next thing you know, you're right there. And but guess what? It's not just given to you. The agency was, hey, here's your door, right? Here's the open door. But it's not, here's $100,000 in a year.
So you
Right.
didn't get like a book, a list that said, "Hey, you're already generating $200,000 a year.
No.
Keep it going." You had to build it.
Yep, you have to build it. And in the beginning, my mother was definitely helping me get leads that she couldn't help with her company.
Mhm.
But then after that, it was just you have to build relationships yourself. You have to get the mortgage loan officers. You have to get the real estate agents, or just word of mouth by other people.
Right.
Just putting a good word and just being that person that, hey, can we go to Dante for this? Right.
And the license, getting that license isn't easy. And if you had mentioned that you also could do insurance in the state of Florida.
Yes.
So you've got two licenses. So that's interesting. I'm going to circle back around to a couple of things you said. But Isaiah, you're 18 years old. You're traveling with Dante on a business trip, because this trips that you guys are on, I think you mentioned you hit several cities on the way here, because insurance isn't the only thing you're doing. And I want to circle that too. But 18, did you graduate high school?
Yep.
I'm assuming like last year?
Yep.
And
Fresh
then-
out of high school. Then met this guy, and now just travel the world with him.
Nice. So what's your role in this whole thing?
I grew up with both my parents, 7 siblings.
7 siblings.
Yep.
Are you the
Not in-
youngest?
What? No, middle.
Middle.
Not in the biggest house. Just that's what really motivated me to like make a lot of money to help out my family, my siblings, all
Right.
that stuff, because they don't come from a lot.
Right. So you guys, wait a minute. You guys didn't come from wealthy families.
No, not at all.
I would say, with my
You did,
upbringing,
okay.
I mean, we had a good life for sure. Like as I got older,
Mhm.
not in so much when I was a younger kid, but my stepdad came in life when I was 7 years old. Thank God, I love him to death. And then they built up from there. So right now I would say no, but when I was younger, my mom had to do what she had to do to take care of me as a single mother until my stepdad. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even from wow, I'll tell you. So you both came from homes that weren't like layered in gold where you grew up, and you had a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
home, right?
Right.
Interestingly, I grew up in Rochester, New York, right? I had a mom and a dad. We had grandma, an uncle who was deaf, and I too was the youngest of 5 kids. And we didn't have 7, but it was a big family though. And the thing is, we were poor, but I never knew I was poor. Like I had no clue growing up that I was poor until society started telling me that I was poor. Anyways, so what are you hoping to do with this, Isaiah? You're learning from Dante,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And you too want to get into insurance, or
I might. Yeah. Might
interesting,
hire.
Yeah.
interesting
Might get
stuff.
into that.
So how was school for you? Public school or private?
Yeah, public.
How was you're in Detroit, Michigan, right? How was that experience? Because the public schools in New York State, I mean, listen,
I wasn't the best kid myself, but I just got through it. Like I wasn't looking to go to college or anything. I just wanted to get out, start making money, and just live my life.
Right. You felt that you got everything you
Yeah.
needed out of high school, though? Man. So you both talked, and I mean, you didn't quite say it, Isaiah, but you said it, Dante. Standards was something that you were taught to understand at a very young age. Can you describe, both of you guys, if you don't mind, in your own, what does that mean to you? What are standards, right? Because you look at what's happening in Detroit and New York State. The state says they know better. In New York State, they passed this thing called Prop 1. Dangerous. That basically gives the state more authority over the children than the parents. To the point where if a child goes to school and says, "I want a sex change," they and mom and dad tries to start it, it becomes a hate crime. It becomes illegal. Schools can do it without notifying parents. A 5th grader can go to their teacher and say, "I have an STD and I don't want mom to know." And then to boot, there's like a slate of bills that are set to pass to really solidify a lot of those things in conjunction with community schools. So what are standards in the world? Because you're only 24. So what are standards in your world? What did that mean to you guys?
So, I grew up in, with my family, and they brought me to a private school called St. Lawrence, right? And I would say at the time, it was a very stricter end of school, I would say, for being a private school. All the kids were, of course we were kids at the end of the day, the way we acted, but I think every kid, you could tell was a little bit more, how you say, polished, if that makes sense, to where, their parents weren't just, letting them do whatever they want. You could tell that they, at the end of the day, they let us be kids, but they also let us have our, differences where it's like, hey, you can and can't do this, right? So even me, when I was growing up, right, if I did something wrong, it was, belt to the butt from my mom, or soap in my mouth, right? Nowadays, you do that with kids, I think you're probably gonna get a call.
We lost the connection somehow. Hey, Bob, I'm back on. No, we've been talking all along, and I was just wondering because I didn't see a commercial. Okay. How long did I lose? Sorry, we're going to be coming at a commercial. Hey, Bob, let that song play for a second. See, por seguro, ladies and gentlemen, check it wherever you are. Just stand up and let this beat go through you, right? Let all that stress go because we are approaching the weekend. See, welcome back to the Next Step Show, the Conservative New York. I'll tell you, I love technology as as long as it works. So, the great thing about traveling is that we can do these things, but every once in a while you get a hiccup, right? So, I think before break or around that time, we were talking a little bit about standards. I hope we didn't miss too much for our listeners, but the question that I had asked both of you guys was, what did standards? You mentioned in your upbringing, you had that. Can we start that conversation again?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, growing up in a private school, when I was younger, that school was one of the top notch in the area as far as sports, academics, and all the kids that went there. We were held to a higher standard of, we get to be kids, but we also had to, as a Christian as well, right? We learned a lot in religion class. So just going morally, standard wise, living by that rule, right? And not when it's perfect, however. But so, I mean, standard to me would be definitely, living, the word of God, right? At the end of the day. I think when you set yourself within that realm, in believing that to your own extent, everyone has their own beliefs. I think just becoming a better person standard wise is the way to go. And so like I said, as growing up, my mother as well, besides the whole private school, it was I couldn't just do whatever I wanted, right? Like bedtime, of course, we're younger, so I get it, but we look at it where it's like, oh, now kids, they're probably staying out till what, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and they don't notify their parents where they're at. They could just do whatever they want, right? So just little standards like that even when I have potentially have some kids when I grow up, I'm going to set the same standards where it's not just going to be your world, you do whatever you want, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the problem nowadays with a lot of kids, is they think oh, if they don't let me do this, then it somehow comes back on the parents, right? So them not having a grip on their own kid is kind of where we're at in today's society.
Man, and I'll tell you, there are a lot of kids out there that are just running around. Now, Isaiah, you mentioned that that your home was a little different, right? You were you didn't do a private school. You were not as flush. Mom and dad at home.
Yep.
Extended family, grandma, uncles, just you, and then you had 7 kids. There were 7 kids.
7 siblings.
And you were the middle.
Yep.
So were you considered the middle child?
No. I was third oldest.
Third oldest. Oh wow, that is way up there out of 7 kids. So your youngest brother must be like what, 5 or 8?
1.
Wow, man! I could see why you decided to travel.
Yeah, get some time away from him.
I'm the youngest of 5, And I'll tell you, my siblings all left as soon as they could, and not because we had bad parents. I mean, they had standards.
Mhm.
Like my parents, and I had the same standards for my kids. Like, there's no reason for you to be out after midnight. They just none, unless you're working. There's no, and so there's standards. So, what standards did you see growing up, if any? Because
My
that's
mom
a
and
big
dad
factor.
definitely gave me a lot of standards, like just making sure I'm doing like my schoolwork, just staying on top of like just being a good person. And now that I'm 18, they kind of just, it's more free now. I can do what I want now that I'm in high school because they trust me. They know I can like go
Right.
out. They know I'm like making money on these trips, just having fun. But yeah, they definitely gave me standards like in high school, making sure I'm getting good grades.
So it sounds like both of your parents pretty much taught you things like
Yeah.
ethics,
Mhm.
right? Things like understanding the value of respecting other people, including yourself. This shows pillars are faith, politics, and entrepreneurship, and finding the balance between the three, and not entrepreneurship as in business as well, but understanding that the first business one has to develop, or the first corporation, it's inside you. It's you, because how can you help someone
You can't
if
be
you
yourself.
haven't helped yourself?
Yeah.
Exactly. Tell us about Detroit. Crime, education. I mean, how do you think it was a good education in the public schools? Did you walk out of there thinking, man, I have the best experience. I'm college ready, or I'm work ready, or was there, because in New York State it's like 2 hours of learning, 3 hours of what sex you want to be.
It was not the
Kidding.
best at all.
Not too far.
It was not the best.
Not the best, man.
No.
And see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of stuff that I enjoy, really pointing out. We may think sometimes that in Monroe County we're in this vacuum that is just us, but no, mira, this is going far and wide, right? Crime rates. Do you pay attention to that in your business?
We don't. I will say Detroit has probably gotten a little bit better over time, definitely, because the city's it's come back up. In a general sense of even sports, right? I think when you see the sports doing well, a lot of people are like, okay, they're a little bit more preoccupied with that way of life versus the crime. But of course, it's still Detroit at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Like it sucks to say this, but you wouldn't feel safe just walking down there at night by yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's sad, about our own city. So, but hopefully, with time it does get better, right? Detroit sports are back up and
Yes,
at 'em,
sir.
so that's a good plus, right? And hopefully that takes a lot of minds off of a lot of people maybe trying to do bad decision making. So that's the thing, though. It's really just based on the decision making of the people out there, right? And it could be the same decisions that other people make, in other areas that maybe aren't as hurt as Detroit. But so it just comes out of the decision making of the individual, right? And there seems to be just more in Detroit itself, and that's what's sad.
Ladies and gentlemen, 346-3000. See, yo tengo al jovencito Dante, Ayetola, and Isaiah. Guys, give us a call. Ask these guys questions. Maybe give them encouragement. Or even say, hey, we may be from New York, but we get your pain and we stand with you, right? Because that's important, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk politics. You have a mega hat on.
Yeah.
I love the hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Right? But it's loud. It grabs attention. And Detroit is not like the most conservative-minded city anywhere.
No.
Right? How is life for you two young guys? Because I'm assuming you wear your hat back home too, yeah?
Oh yeah.
What kind of response do you get?
It's funny because you'll just get the looks,
Yeah, right.
not necessarily
A lot of
the responses. I don't think some people probably just don't care enough. They're just probably like, why are you wearing that hat, right? So I mean, and if they think it's something that where it comes across as racist, like that's not the point of the hat. If that's already in your head, then you've already lost the battle.
Let me interrupt you real quick,
Yeah.
and I want to address the issue of race, because Isaiah, you're not only 18, but you had mentioned that you're black. A mulatto, I think, is the official name, where you're black and white. You're mixed,
Yeah.
right? Does that matter in politics? Do you think? Should it?
No, it shouldn't, but I definitely get looked at different for being black and liking Trump.
So what kind of? I mean, what do you hear in your circles from kids your age? I say kids because compared to me, I mean, I got all my kids are older than you. Actually, all my kids are older than both of you guys. That's damn, I'm old. So what do you? I mean, really, what are you experiencing? What are you hearing back? Is it positive? Do you think you're doing more influencing of peers your age, making them think like, gee, maybe I should be more involved in politics? Have you seen any of that?
Not really. It's just I just get looked at different. Really, I don't really talk about it much with friends because they might have different opinions. And
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. So how politically involved are you guys back home at all? Are you part of the parties, or do you do any stuff? Just vote, pay attention, and vote. Though,
Yeah,
I assume, right?
I definitely voted, of course.
Yeah.
As far as paying attention, like I said, I pay attention to a certain extenses, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you're gonna side with whichever media works with you,
Mhm.
right? And so that's something that of course, with me, Fox, whatever, right? But it's like, and then you have CNN for the Democrats, but it's like it's okay to watch both, but you have to also like understand both sides, right? Because you're going to know that one side is going to be towards you and the other one's going to be towards them, right? And that's how media is misconstrued, and it shouldn't be like that.
Absolutely.
And because
Well, it
kids my
seems
age,
like
they just believe whatever they hear.
it seems like all the major media, all the legacy media, really seems to have shifted far left for some reason. It's the most bizarre thing that I have ever seen, to the point where they even don't report on some things accurately in some cases. Guys, I gotta ask, why Trump? Why not Kamala?
Trump's a
Mm.
dog.
I mean, she's black, right? What'd you say?
Trump's a dog.
Trump's. Yeah, define that. What does that mean?
He's just like the boss man. Like you need that type of person in office. You need a guy who like stands on business, like
Yeah.
who knows what he's doing.
Do you know that there has been more reported, like people saying this man has impacted in poor folks, it's not just about business for him, and it never has been. He's always been out there doing a lot of community things, but legacy media, the major media outlets never ever promote anything like
They're
that.
never
So
going to.
so at 18, though, I've got to ask, and I'm going to ask you, try to have you answer this question kind of outside any of the influence from Dante or anything like that. Before you graduated school, did Trump in any way, shape, or form influence that? But hold that answer for a second, because we're going to go to break for a few minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so you're your conservative New Yorker, Dante y Isaiah here, 346-3000. And don't forget, you can even call us toll free, 866-552-1009. And hey, welcome Hornell. We'll be right back. Oh man, in Miami, being able to do my show and then hitting a cruise next week, Bob, I can't think of a better vacation. Hey, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. See, the practice of pickling, right? The pickle dates back to 2030 BC. Did you know? That's like a long
Damn.
time ago, right? When traders imported cucumbers from India to the Tigris Valley. Now, the really interesting part of this whole thing that I researched on this, right? No, but probably most people don't give a damn what I'm saying here, but these are cool little facts. Cleopatra attributed her beauty to a diet rich in pickles, and Julius Caesar believed they provided physical and spiritual strength, distributing pickles on a regular basis to his troops.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? So before break, I was asking you about the influences and everything on you. You remember the question?
Yep.
Good. What do you think?
It's just I always just looked at him like a guy that I look up to, like someone who I would like to be like sometime in life, just like a businessman, a guy who needs
role model?
does what he needs to do. I just look up to him like he's just like a boss man, like
Gotcha.
he knows what he's doing, and that's how I want to be when I grow up.
So if I may ask some racial questions here, or cross, I hate talking race. I think race is so stupid. I think there's one race. It's the human race, right? But the question is this, and for both of you, how many countries in the world have blacks or Hispanics for that matter, or whites for that matter?
I mean, every.
What about you?
Oh,
That's wrong. There's only one country in the world that has blacks and Hispanics, as we know it, and that's the United States.
Really?
The
Well, like
United
it's like a
States is the
majority
only
population,
country-
or just people?
No, it's the only country that segregates people on skin color.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In Italy,
yeah.
you're either Italian or you're not.
Right.
In Argentina, you're either Argentinian or you're not.
Mhm.
In the United States is the only place that separates us by color. And the thing is, you being black, the fact that you put that Trump hat on, all of a sudden you're not allowed in that group anymore, according to standards that these far left radicals have established. And I think that's I think it's destructive when you start separating people based on color. It takes away. I mean, you find Trump to be a good role model. So do I. I would love to have what he has, right? And it inspires me to work hard. I believe in loyalty. Mira, if I give you loyalty 100%, I expect it back. But I expect that loyalty to come with, hey, Peter, you may not be doing we're not bobbleheads. That's not loyalty. That's fake friends.
Yep.
To use his terms. Are you guys registered Republicans?
Correct.
Both of you are? Nice. So talk to me about Trump has made some great picks. And I think Tom Homan, the new border Cesar, is one of the greatest picks that he's
I
had.
love that one.
He is. When they asked him, well, is there a way that we can keep families together? And you remember, you guys know what he said, right?
Yeah. They can go together.
They can go together. I'm like, well, yeah.
Mhm.
But so what do you guys? I mean, again, in the era that you grew up, the issue of immigration has been around a lot, significantly. New York State's hocus pocus governor allocated $28 million for in New York State. They're dubbing them asylum seekers. Or no, asylee seekers.
Yes.
As AOC. You know AOC from New York, I take it. No. I think the only thing she had going for her was her cutes, and that's not even there anymore.
That's the thing, man. She's definitely a cute woman.
Until she opens her mouth.
Until she opens her mouth.
And then it's like, okay, you know what? Never mind. That's just really not worth it. That's like, anyways, I should stop. Marco Rubio was also appointed Secretary of State, and he's very strong. Actually, his statement, it's been all over the news. I played it on my show this week when he said, listen, Hamas is wrong. And all the, what was it, like 50,000 or whatever Palestinians that have been killed in the Gaza Strip are really and truly a result of Hamas. Now, have you guys paid attention to that at all? Because this is going to be a big thing in Trump's administration.
For sure, I definitely will be huge for him. I don't really pay too much attention with it. I have friends and family on both sides of it, right? So it's like it's hard to really talk about because it's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
What I can say is when Trump was in office, there was, not peace, but there was in a way, peace for the time being, right? It wasn't what just happened with them, between them both,
Yep.
right? And I think Trump has a lot on his plate to try to, get that fixed. And I think Hamas leader already said that he wants to put an end to it, if I'm not mistaken. So, hopefully Trump can do what he can to, get it back to where it was when he was already here in office, before. Because definitely when the Biden administration took over, they let anything in the world happen, and a lot of people were in the crossfires of it, and it's very sad to see that happen.
We have Monroe County. I'm from Monroe County, New York State, upstate New York, right? We have Monroe County legislators, right? When there was at one point where a group of Palestine and others, went up into the chambers during a meeting, and they started, basically disrupting everything. And there were county legislators standing there with them because they had to, kind of move everybody to safety. Because some of these people have gotten, those situations have gotten pretty bad, and we had legislators standing, Democrats, chanting, pro Hamas rhetoric, sitting there. Do you see that kind of stuff in Detroit?
Oh, we don't see that, as much in Detroit. I think the biggest thing, when Trump was leaving office was the Black Lives Matter. I think that was the biggest protest that we've seen. I know we also have Dearborn, in the Detroit area where, that would probably be more seen there, but that's not something that we don't personally see, going crazy on.
Gotcha. Interesting. So tell us about your business, sir. I want to know, because I think when we spoke last night, getting ready for the show, you had mentioned that your insurance business was doing very well under Trump's first administration, and that seemed to have changed. Talk to us about that. What did that mean? What did you see? What did you feel?
Yeah, most of it is on myself too, as a business owner, right? It's not that I could, work harder, but when I was working and working the internet leads and the market, to me was just better for insurance, right? So, I was doing good at 19 years old, hustling it out there. So I was definitely, doing my part. But then I could tell after, a year or two after that, it started slowing down. And maybe that was because partly that, I changed my style of getting customers from, instead of me going out there and, doing the calls, I was trying to get them in as well. So that was probably part of it as well.
Okay.
For the, the slower, growth of my company. But you could just tell with insurance companies, everything just went higher. Right. And you could see it just in the rates. It wasn't that I was, like a couple of dollars off. It was just like, what is going on with this economy?
Regulation coming from the feds, at least, that changed. I think that increased when it came to the insurance company. Did that play a role at all?
It might have. I didn't look too, crazy deep on like what exactly is affecting it, but I could just tell even after, when Biden did get in office, it definitely did change. The market in a general sense changed because I had a lot of other agents saying, what is going on? And it's hard. And it's still hard right now. You know what I'm saying? And it's, rates are high. People, unfortunately, Detroit is one of those, higher rated, auto insurance and homeowner insurance rate states. So it's like,
like New York.
Yeah, exactly. So doing my insurance, based out of Michigan, it's not the easiest to get people insurance. And a lot of people already know that in Detroit, there's not a lot of people with insurance in general. Right. So they just go around there and they have no insurance. And I think that's part of the reason why, the rates in general for everybody else that does have insurance are very high in general. Gotcha. Right. And I think that sucks because I think if, rates went down to where it was affordable for everybody, and of course that given, right, you have to have a clean record. So as, of course, how business works, right? So for insurance companies, if there's a lot of claims that year, they have to raise rates to make up that difference, right? That's standard. But again, it goes to the flip side. If there's not as many claims, the price could be better for the consumer. So if that was something that they were able to clean up, I think, in Detroit and in the suburb areas, I think it would be better for the overall population of insurance. So until we see that, I don't know how rates are going to be. They're always up and down.
What's minimum wage in Detroit?
Ooh, to be honest, is it 14? 12 or 14 or something like that? To be honest with you, I never, teens. Yeah, I know it's teens, but I never, since I was, of course, 19, I took on all commission. So I never knew, a regular, unless I was bagging groceries at 16 years old. That was the only time. I think minimum wage then was like $9 or $10. It wasn't anything.
Well, that's
But
good to
yeah.
New York's is 15, and now
15?
they're
Okay.
trying to talk about making it 20.
Mm.
And then Bob Savage, the guy that runs the station, and them, he posed the question, and he's like, well, if it's going to be 20, why not make it 50? Why not make it 75? I mean, really, where's the cap?
Yeah.
Minimum wage supposed to be set so that so that it's minimum, right? It shouldn't be a target. People shouldn't be saying, oh, I want to go work and it needs to be $15. It just, none of that made sense
Well,
to me.
minimum wage to me is also to where, like, it should be an extent, because you should want to move up, above and beyond that limit as well.
Well, I'll tell you, it's destroyed the ability for young people to get jobs, because at one point I used to hire young crews throughout the winter to do some shoveling and stuff like that. I can't do that anymore.
Right.
I've got to now actually either hire or contract somebody, because the cost of bringing on these young people, it's too expensive.
Everybody
we
wants
can't
too
afford
much
it.
for something that they don't even know what to do.
No, absolutely not. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the business you're here today doing. And we're going to touch on that as soon as we get back from this break, right? Be about 2 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, meet up 346-3000-585. Call us at 866. Ay, caramba. 866-552-1009. Regreso en unos momentos. ¿No te atreves a cambiar ese dial? Welcome back to the Next Step Show, ladies and gentlemen. So you're here on Business and Pleasure, guys, right? Well, in your business that you're working on, this is kind of a side thing that you're doing, and it has to do with trading cards or
Yes,
sports trading
sports
cards.
cards.
Briefly, just tell us about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was something that I got into, in April, I guess, more seriously. I've always loved sports. I played sports in high school. My brother plays sports, family in general. Right. So it was just something that I was like, I would always watch in a general sense, just to put on TV. I never watched anything else really but sports. So when I found out that, there was a market for the sports cards, I was like, okay. So as I started getting more and more into it, it was more local shows that I, done, meeting local people for the cards. And then, as we got way more serious, which was in July, it was like, oh, people were traveling, making a lot more money, in this industry. So we were like, okay. So we decided to, partner up and start traveling together. And, at the end of the day, I told them, we're young, right? And I think that's a lot, the difference between us and a lot of other kids is, yes, you can work that 9 to 5, but I never took, a salary or a, minimum wage type of job. I was always based off of, whatever you do commission wise is what you make, right?
Absolutely.
Whether that's for my insurance company and that's for what we do here. We can come on a trip like this, go to the show, make no money, and that's the risk that we take.
Mhm.
Same thing with my insurance company. If I don't work, I don't make no money. So, doing this, I told him from the start, I go, if we can go on trips, but minimum break even, I'd be happy.
So it's a free vacation.
It's a free vacation to us, right?
At the very least.
At the very least, yeah.
So what does somebody pay for a card? What, if you don't mind me asking, what's the most expensive card you have sold since you started?
The most expensive card was probably a Michael Jordan. Yeah, the Michael Jordan auto that I have. It's nothing crazy compared to what a lot of people have, but it's about like $6,000.
$6,000.
Yeah.
You're talking about for a little business card side with a picture and stats.
Probably like this size. Yeah.
Oh, so a little bigger.
A little bit smaller, but yeah.
Wow, that's $6,000. If I spent $6,000 on a card, I would probably end up homeless because my wife would be like, "WTF?"
Yeah.
I mean, really, that is a trip.
I know it's a lot, and there's people out there that have cards that are millions of dollars. So it's just with us, the way we market our cards are, the smaller, about $50 to $3,000 range. Yeah, so because the 6,000 they don't move fast, right? So you have to you'll get someone to buy them because the Jordan auto it's something that will never lose value. But then we have buyers for certain ranges of cards that are more appetite for them. Right, so that $50 to like $3,000 range is where we usually buy a lot of cards, but we're not buying one or two; we're buying like hundreds. So it adds up to a good amount.
Interesting. So I'm assuming the people that buy these cards are probably a little bit more well off. So you're meeting people with a lot of money in some cases.
Yeah.
So how, again, I'm assuming, do you show up with your?
Oh yeah.
We were on the last show.
We were on the last show. I don't care. At the end of the day, if you're gonna look at me different because of a hat, then that's probably a you problem, not a me.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
yeah,
it's definitely a you. Ladies and gentlemen, say that one more time, Dante.
It's probably a you problem, not a me problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard that, because if you got a problem with somebody wearing a mega hat or any kind of hat for that matter, it could even be a Kamala hat, unless of course you're sitting there being mean and disrespectful, which is what happens to a lot of us that wears these hats on both sides, and that shouldn't be the case. Dialogue. Guys, we don't have a lot of time left, so I'd like you to define what American values are to you briefly, because I want to get your contact in there in case somebody in New York or somebody listening to the show throughout the world that has a card that they want to give you.
Yeah.
Or saw you.
100%. So I would say my values 100%, maybe not towards American standard, but definitely God first. I think that's going to be the most important value above anything else, right? Money comes and goes. It doesn't matter if you have millions or if you have $1. If you don't have God first, you've earned nothing in life, right? So that's number one for me. Number two would definitely be family, 100% family. So because that's all you got in this world, and you don't have them forever. So cherishing those moments, I even thought, after talking to you, we've been on these trips, going from, all over, right? We were just in Dallas, we went to Phoenix, and we just came here, and I haven't seen my family for a little bit. So I was actually thinking after I talked to you, I was like, and I said that to you yesterday, I'm probably just going to bring them on a trip. You know what I mean? Because you just don't have time, with them forever. It does go very quick, right? You grow up very fast, some will say. So, and then of course the third, I think important is the business, the entrepreneurship, you could, in America, you can do pretty much whatever you want. Yeah. And I think that's where people are with the certain mentalities, right? Like we talked yesterday. I think that's a huge thing with most people, like for instance, everyone says, oh, Trump was given $1 million. Okay. If I gave you $100,000, you wouldn't turn into $1 million. But he turned into billions, right? So that's the thing, is like people shame on him for that his dad gave him a loan. Okay, I'll give you a loan. I'll give you $10,000. Turn it into 50.
But
and
that
I guarantee
is
you don't
America.
See that.
That's called family.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I do not want my kids to deal with any hardship that I dealt with growing up.
No.
Right?
To a certain extent, right? You have to make them learn. But
accountable stuff like that. But if I can avoid them having to be hungry, that's like that kind of stuff. So, Isaiah, American values. How do you define?
He said it perfect. Definitely God, family, and the business.
Are you guys sure you're only 24 and 18? Because the whole concept, I mean, I list them as God, country, family, which is the way, I mean, I viewed it, right? People say, oh, that's a political statement. No, it's not a political statement. It's exactly what has made this country. You know, we look out this window, 24 hours a day, and it's not just tourists. I've been all over the place, and it's busy day and night, even in the non-areas. You don't see that in places like Monroe County. 8 o'clock, not even 5, 6 o'clock, the place doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, what next steps advice? I call it next steps, but it's advice. Can you share with our young listeners and our older listeners, so that they too can take their next steps and be able to, be able to achieve their American dream?
Yeah, I mean,
at a young age.
Yeah, the number one thing I would say, when it comes to, kids within our age, the 18 to probably even the 30 years old, right? Just have an ambition for something and do at that age, do something that you really love, because at the end of the day, you could, work that 9 to 5, for the next 20 years, but is that going to make you happy? Because by the time you're, 40, 50 years old, what are you doing at that point? Right. So like, then that's what I told him when we first linked up with the, cards. I'm like, let's just live life, man. We were not, should we be more frugal with our money because we are young? Probably. But, the thing that I look at it too is like, here's my philosophy on it, right? When we, I think, took our first flight, we didn't take first class to, where was it? First Dallas. We flew economy. And then we made money there. We actually made good money there. And then we decided, a lot better than we thought. Because when you stick to, hey, can we at least break even on the trip? Then it's better than I need to make 5K. And then if you don't hit 5K, then you're mad at yourself for not. If I hit minimum that I had my trip back, I make money. I'm even happier, right? So then the second trip that we took first class. So and we were like, it's way better.
Right. We only have about a minute left,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
Advice from you,
I
Isaiah?
would just say that don't worry about what other people think about you. Just keep grinding and be yourself.
Keep grinding. Define grinding, if you can, real quick, in like a couple seconds.
It's hard work.
Hard work. See, I grew up grinding. Well, that's why I ended up with 5 kids before I was 24 years old. Different meaning back in the 80s. Guys, I really appreciate you. How can someone get a hold of you guys if they, want to talk to you, just to talk to you? If they want to sell you a card or know more about it, how can people get a hold of you guys?
Instagram, Drac by Zay.
Dragged by
Drac by Zay.
Spell that real quick.
DACE by Zay.
Gotcha.
And then mine is Dante Rips, DANTE, and then RIPZ.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dante and Isaiah. Mira, muchas gracias, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us. And mira, like I say, be a leader, be a leader, be a leader. And remember, leadership is the beacon that guides us all day, every day. Y no te olvides, la voz de libertad, your conservative Nuyorican Peter Vasquez, siempre te amamos. And don't forget, God bless these United States of America.
Yes, sir.
Bye. There, and we are clear.